Mike Roach, 247 National Recruiting Advisor, the Texas High School Coaches Association convention, which is a massive undertaking. A lot of college coaches lined up yesterday. We're going to have some of the audio from Mac Brown, even Greg Sankey and A.J. Stewart, Baylor's running backs coach, on Dave Aranda not being able to be there, but also the culture at Baylor. Mike, thank you very much for your time. What, in your opinion, out of all of what was said yesterday with various college coaches, were there a couple of things in particular that maybe stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest is obviously a lot of talk about NIL at the high school level and what that looks like, and that was a common thread. But I thought the most interesting discussion point of the week was in regards to the Big 12 proposal to play more Thursday and Friday night games and how that might conflict with high school football. And talking to the coaches there and their opinions, obviously they want to appease their commissioner and their conference, but they also understand how important high school football is in the state and how those games might be taking away from what the high school product is.
Mike, did anybody rock the room the last couple of days that stood out to you?
Everybody walked the room. I mean, I'll say this. I've been probably doing this job for 7-8 years now, and I don't think we've ever been at a time in the state of Texas where the colleges, from Texas and A&M all the way down to San Angelo State and ETBU are in better hands. I mean, a lot of these staffs are just really impressive, and those guys all understand the importance of this event, the importance of working the room and talking to everybody, having socials and having people out. And I think all those staffs were really impressive. I thought personally, I thought Eric Morris at North Texas was really strong in his press conference and had a lot of good reviews. I thought G.J. Kinney at Texas State was another guy that was impressive. So I think the state in the college level is in really good hands with these staffs.
Mike, rewinding a little bit to the NIL discussion, what was kind of the general theme? I mean, we all know how pressing of an issue it is from college on down, and it's starting to leak into the high schools depending on what state we're talking about. Texas very much in a still figuring it all out sort of phase right now, but what's sort of the common talking points and themes and fears or whatever else when it comes to that discussion?
Well, the UIL administration spoke today and was asked about it several times. Their answer has always been that there's a law in the books preventing it in the state of Texas, and until that legislation's changed, they're not really going to talk about hypotheticals. But I think the sentiment from the college coaches is that NIL is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to see players be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. But as we've seen at the college level, if it isn't implemented correctly and there's not the right guardrails, they feel it could be a really slippery slope, and especially at the high school level where we could see more increased transfers and booster clubs basically turn into collectives and things like that. So yeah, I think everybody's a little uncertain about it. I don't think anybody wants to strongly come out in opposition of it because that's obviously going to hurt recruiting to an extent, but I think that everybody's at least a little uncertain about it.
With Sankey being there, and with coaches from throughout the country there speaking, and obviously Matt Rule had the connection once he moved to Baylor and had to get into that. Is this the most broad group you've seen at the convention in quite some time? I'm talking throughout the country.
Yeah, it has to be because, every year they tend speakers, especially, I think the last couple of years they've had Kirby Smart and Nick Saban after winning national championships. But when you talk about like Greg Sankey being at this event, Mac Brown coming back from North Carolina, and Matt Rule, obviously Texas is still very important to Matt Rule being at this event, we're getting a lot more widespread appeal. So what used to be kind of a Texas-only event where you would have one or two special guests is broadening a lot, and it's been really good. I think the feedback's been strong, and we enjoyed talking to those guys during their press briefings.
I don't know, was it at the SEC Media's or was it there where Greg Sankey called the NIL laws a race to the bottom?
I don't believe it was here. I don't remember that in the press conference, although I will say I was out in the hall and walked in the middle of Greg Sankey's NIL rant, so he might have said before I walked into the room.
Yeah, I listened to that. I was going to play some of that audio that we received, the link we're going to play some of that, I think, in the 5 o'clock hour. But, yeah, he was pretty emphatic about that in the early national signing period, wasn't he?
Yeah, he actually was talking about the need for eliminating the early national signing period from a standpoint of how much stress is on college coaches at that time of the year and how it's kind of changed the game. And it was interesting because you talk to the coaches and they kind of want the opposite. So I think Steve Sarkisian came out in vocal opposition of ending that early signing period. And so, it's interesting to hear the back and forth between administrators and coaches who see it from two different sides.
Mike, if you were to poll, I guess, the Texas high school coaches amongst all of these sort of topics that we've discussed, and they could make one change, I guess, whether it be the recruiting calendar or the NIL or something along those. I mean, we know kind of the feelings about playing on, college games on Friday nights. It sounds like that would probably be the first one they'd strike down. But if they could have some amount of power, what do you think is something that Texas high school coaches would love to see changed one way or the other?
I think that Texas high school coaches, at least to me when I've talked to them, have vocally expressed their frustrations about the transfer portal and how it's phasing out high school recruiting in a way where it used to be there were kids who would, they would earn spots late in the class, and those kids are kind of being phased out because now those schools are just going to the portal instead of recruiting another high school kid. So it's pushing everybody down a level. The fringe D1 guys are now FCS guys. The fringe FCS guys are now D2 guys, and I think that's where the frustration lies.
Yeah, the high school athletes, and I've seen more than one, even head coaches are saying this. We had that at the Big 12 Media Days. High school athletes are still getting recruited, but you have to be very high level, right? That as far as a chance because of the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, the stars are always going to get recruited, and I think what it is that in recent years we've seen guys who are borderline, G5 guys, and maybe a school like UTSA takes a chance on them late in the cycle. Well, now those schools are looking more to the portal to fill those needs, so those kids don't get those looks from schools, and they're getting pushed down, and you're seeing good players go to FCS schools and go to D2 schools.
Mike Roach, again, from 247 National Recruiting Analyst with us on 365 Sports.
So, Mike, it's kind of, I guess, a newer trend, this the volume of guys, but what is it like to see for these coaches, you think, Jeff Traylor walking in there with all the years under his belt now at UTSA and so many more years to grow at the college ranks? Joey McGuire obviously got off to a great start at Texas Tech. I know there's been high school coaches that have made the move in the past, but it just seems like there's a lot of momentum there right now here in the state of Texas. So what is it like? Is it something that inspires, you think, a lot of coaches, or is just a feel-good kind of deal to see some of their own working their way up the chart, so to speak?
I think it absolutely inspires them. And, we talk a lot about the head coaches in college football that were Texas high school coaches, but there's a lot of assistants on staff, that were also Texas high school coaches. Jeff Traylor kind of addressed that in his press conference today, saying, it's great, and we're giving back to the community that gave us, all of our success. But we're also not just giving these guys jobs to pay them back. They're good coaches. They're the reason that people recruit Texas is because it has the best high school football coaches in the country. And I think that you're seeing more avenues to the college level for those guys, more avenues for promotion. I mean, just the amount of guys I shook hands with and said hi to that I knew from high school that are now at the college level over the weekend. It's, you look back at it and you think, wow, these guys are really getting advancement in a way they never have before.
Mike, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. I know you have another hit to do at 4. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy covering that massive convention.
Listen, I always tell this story. Smokey was one of the earliest supporters of mine, said something very encouraging and nice to me when I was a young reporter in a press box in Austin. And so anytime for you guys.
I remember that. What year, Mike, what exact year was that? Was that the year that I don't know if Texas beat Baylor and it started the landslide in 16 for Baylor?
It was Charlie Strong last year. So it was the last second field goal or 2-point or something won that game, I believe.
Yep. I remember sitting right next to you. I enjoyed that moment. I'm proud of what you're doing. Keep going, and much more good stuff ahead for you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you very much. That's Mike Roach. We'll have Pat